Hey guys, and welcome back to the Ringer 57 YouTube channel. Today we have a more serious topic to talk about. So, as you can tell from the title, my motor's tore apart again. Got a lot of people trying to figure out why it's tore apart. I'm going to try and prop you up here so I can take my break. So, the motor's tore apart because it had a misfire. Started investigating, dropped the oil, found a piece of metal. Figured it was a good idea to investigate further because losing a rod at high RPM, high speed is not a good thing. Might have been a bearing. Might have been the Nike seal from the cylinder breaking off. I do spray the living tar out of a stock motor. I push limits, that's what I do. Now, on to the subject at hand. I will never blame my tuner. There's a reason for that. Dennis Clanton at Stedman Motorsports tunes my bike. He does base tunes for me. So 80% throttle and up, rips on motor and nitrous on the dyno to give me base lines. From those base lines, I have a Wago 3 data logger, and I make adjustments. So from the second pass down the track, his tune's gone. It has nothing to do with what he's done. So calling my tuner, messaging my tuner, and being an asshole to him, asking him why an engine he just tuned blew up, is unacceptable. Because in the end, he didn't tune it in the end. He gave me a very good starting base. I have very minimal tweaks to it, 3 to 5% at most. Most of that's because on the dyno you don't get ram air effect, you don't get the full load, etc., 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 to see what it's actually going to do. He gets me at 13.2. I go out there and it rips 13.6. I pulled 3 or 4%, you know, or it rips 12.9. I add a little fuel. So everything changes at the track every time you go. So the tune had nothing to do with this. Now, to answer the question, no, the engine's not hurt. I tore it down to inspect it, couldn't find anything wrong, started investigating further into what the piece of metal was, what it looked like, started digging around, and it turns out I found a socket in my set. When I was torquing the head back down the last time I went through to inspect everything, shed a little bit of chrome. That piece of chrome fits perfectly into that socket. It fell into the head, managed to make its way into the sump. That's where I found it. Now, the origin misfire, that had nothing to do with the tune either. 3 of the holes, the plugs read spot on, perfect. 1 hole read very lean. I have an injector that's plugging up. Why? Because they're 2-year-old D-Works injectors that have been sitting in Susie, got yanked out and stuffed into Dragonfly so I could jump up to E85. So, that's why. Now those are going off to Dennis in the next day or two to get flowed. So we can see which one's low, get it cleaned out, get them clean and clean and clean until they either match or I gotta get new injectors. But none of this, I wanna make this very clear. None of this will ever be the fault of the tuner or the builder if it was a built motor. If I decide to go and get a Carpenter and it blows up, it's not Carpenter's fault, you know? I don't have that kind of money. But if I was ever to do that, it's not their fault. This is racing, guys. You're pushing ever-loving limits every day. Stock rods, stock pistons with the edges dusted off of them, stock springs, stock everything in that motor. And I'm spraying the freaking house down. I'm called a lunatic online when I post up what I can spray on a Gen 1. They tell me it's a freaking ticking time bomb. It is a time bomb, but it's my time bomb. So, please, I never thought my social media would get big enough for people to start picking on my tuner or freaking ragging on people. Chill. Take a chill pill. We'll be back at the track, guys. Trust me, we'll be back.